Hi there, this is Utkarsh Jain, and purpose of this video presentation is to build a broad understanding in terms of the level of ethical standards or the number of ethical standards that we have in the curriculum. Now, the way we would try to remember this is we'll go through a small interesting story of a girl called Kim. Alright, so there are 7 important stages of her life that we are going to go through, and these 7 stages would in turn help us remember the important or all the subparts of all these professional standards. So now this is how this girl looks. Now, a small background that Kim, her name would be Kim. She resides in Pune. And now in the first part of her life, we would try to understand her personality, her characteristics. So there are 4 major traits to her personality. The first one is that she is a law student and she really likes studying or reading a lot of books, okay, which is the first component of her personality. Apart from reading a lot of books and being really knowledgeable, she is also someone who's extremely independent of her nature or personality. She is someone who practices yoga or is into various sports and martial arts. So this is the second trait to her personality. Okay, now there are 4 major traits. The first 2 are relatively good ones. So number 1 is that she likes reading a lot of books. Number 2 is that she is independent. But then the third trait is that she is in the habit of lying once in a while. So she's kind of a compulsive liar, and she lies every now and then. And the fourth trait to her personality is that once in a while, let us say she goes to party, gets drunk, and then she abuses or she involves herself into misconduct. Okay, so now these are the 4 major traits to her personality. Number 1, she likes reading a lot of books. Okay, so there were 2 good traits, like reading books. Number 2, she is independent by nature. But the 2 bad traits are, third one is that she lies or she misrepresents the facts. And number 4, that she gets involved into various types of misconducts. Okay, so this first part of her introduction to her personality would introduce us to the first standard of ethics, which would be professionalism. And professionalism has got 4 major subparts. The first one would be called as A. Her name is Kim. The first one is knowledge of law. The next standard would be independence and objectivity. The standard after that would be misrepresentation, and of course the last one would be misconduct. Okay, so the way we would remember A, B, C, D is that there were 4 traits to her personality. 2 ones were really good and the next 2 were not so good. The first one is knowledge of law, independence, then misrepresentation and misconduct. So now we would keep on moving with her life cycle. We are going to look at 7 important incidents of her life. So this was the first one. Now Kim, let us say, resides in Pune, and now she intends to, so her current profile is that she is a freelance consultant, but she would also be willing to explore various job opportunities. So now she decides that she wants to go to Mumbai and she's got 2 major work there. The first one is that she needs to meet a major client to whom she's been consulting, and she also needs to appear for a job interview on that particular day. Okay, so from Pune she takes a job or she takes a train to Mumbai, and Mumbai being the hub of capital markets in India, this next standard is going to be about capital markets. Now during the train she happens to meet Mr. Mehta. Okay. Now the profile of Mr. Mehta is that he has been to jail, or he has been imprisoned for many times for being involved into unethical practices involving stock markets. So without Kim really asking for the tips, Mr. Mehta now gives her some free advice which is unwanted. And this advice is that how should one make money into the stock markets. The first advice is this, which of course that she should get some information which is not available to the public. Okay, so typically we call this as insider information. And the second advice is that she should involve into market manipulation. Of course, Kim does not take these advices seriously. Okay, but this would help us to remember the standard 2. Okay, the way we would remember this is that she is traveling to Mumbai, it being the hub of capital markets. The second standard would be integrity of capital markets, and the advice which is given by Mr. Mehta is the one that she should not be following. So the first part would be insider trading. So a more sophisticated word for this would be material non-public information, and the second part would be the market manipulation. So now in the first part we looked at 4 personality traits of Kim, which helped us understand the first professional standard, first standard for professionalism. In the second part, Kim is traveling to Mumbai, which is going to help us understand the 2 important components of second standard, integrity of capital markets. The first one would be material non-public information, and the next one would be market manipulation. Now after this, Kim actually lands up and meets her client in Mumbai. Okay. Now the name of this gentleman is the client of Kim is Mr. Coco. Now rather than being this client is not very significant from a professional perspective, but Kim has got some sort of a personal liking for this client, and there are 5 major reasons why Kim likes this client. Okay, so what are those reasons? The first one is this. So this would denote that this particular client is loyal by nature, so that's why she likes him. This is the second reason, that she also finds him someone who's really fair in terms of his behavior, in terms of his dealing. The third reason is that she feels that the personality or characteristics of these two matches perfectly with each other. That means she feels that he is someone who's extremely suitable to her type of personality. The fourth one is interesting. She feels that he is extremely presentable. Okay, so she feels that he is someone with excellent performance and he's someone who's extremely presentable. And the fifth one, he is not someone who is into public display of affection. He would like to keep things to himself, and therefore he does not like to disclose too much. Okay, so with these 5 characteristics of the client will help us remember 5 important substandards of the third important ethical standard, which is duties to clients. The first one was that this particular client is extremely loyal, therefore standard A is loyalty. The second one, that he was fair in terms of his approach, we would call this as fair dealing, which is part B. The third one, that she feels that their personality or lifestyle matches with each other, we would call this as suitability. The fourth one, she feels that he is extremely presentable, we would call this as performance presentation. And the fifth one, we would call this as preservation of confidentiality. Okay, so with these 5 characteristics of the client will help us remember these 5 standards of professional conduct. Now, the first incident of her life, we spoke about the personality traits of Kim, and there were 4 of them. Then in the second stage, when she was traveling from Pune to Mumbai, which being the hub of capital markets, we looked at the standard 2, which was integrity of capital markets. In the third step, she meets her client, and she likes client for 5 major reasons, which would help us remember 5 important substandards. Now in the step number 4, she's actually going to go for that particular job interview. Now she's currently sitting for the job interview, and her boss is extremely impressed with her. Now boss immediately offers her a job profile, but Kim has got 3 important demands from this particular job. Okay, so what are those 3 important demands? The first one is she wants to work with an organization which is extremely loyal or honest in terms of its approach and attitude. Okay, so the first one is going to be loyalty. Then second, that she might also want to talk about certain additional compensation, which is quite obvious because she's appearing for an interview. And the last one, that now she's willing to take on more of a supervisory or managerial position. So this is the last one here, that she wants to be on supervisory positions. Okay, so with this 4th interview situation of her life will help us remember the 4th important standard. We would call this standard as duties to employees, and this standard is again divided into the 4 parts. Into the 3 parts. The first part is loyalty, Second part is additional compensation arrangement, and the last part would be responsibilities of supervisor. This is Utkarsh Jain. Let's meet in the second part of this video. Thank you.